Export profiles in Whisper allow you to set up a set of rules on where you'd like to export or move data from the Whisper system, whether it's coming from our electronic profiles we looked in a previous video, or the database information we might have synced in from a data mapping tool, or just even content that we've created in Whisper. So to first look at the electronic profile or the export profiles, under the admin menu, there's a drop down for export profiles here. You can see that I've already got about 6 of them created there. And from here, you can run these export profiles based on either the information in the profile or actually looking at the tab that you're currently on. So let's see what this means. If I actually just click on electronic profiles here, it'll bring up my electronic profiles window. From here, you can see my drop down has all the existing ones and a series of information that it goes along with each of those profiles. So let's look at a simple export test here I have, and this is just a shared drive export. Here you can see I got a couple of export types. I can export a Documentum, Perceptive, or shared drive, SharePoint. SharePoint lists is another great one. So this one, this export test, is just a shared drive export that's going to go to my temp area on my C drive. Here you can browse to any location you'd like to export to if it's a shared drive. The update links is specific to a number of different repository exports where we're exporting content that might have links within documents that we'll be updating. So let's look at a different one. Let's look at, say, our export to SharePoint list. This one's got a lot more configuration on it that we can go through. Here you can see that I'm connecting to my SharePoint online WesternIM site, and because this is a SharePoint list here, if I actually hit this drop down, we'll get a list of all of my SharePoint lists that are available to me for export. We're going to my new list here that I have on the SharePoint site. Down at the bottom here, we can actually link this profile to a tab. That means whenever this profile is run, we want to export the information that's on a specific tab. If this is not set, whatever tab you're currently viewing is the information that will be exported through this profile. We can also link this export profile to a type. So this means anytime there's a change made to a volume, that this information is automatically routed through our export profile and put out. So for example, if I had selected a volume and made a change when I hit save, it automatically publishes it out to our export location. We'll go through a couple of these and see what it looks like. And just quickly highlight a couple of other, maybe another Documentum export here. We can see that we're connecting to a Documentum site. In this case, we have repository and cabinet that we're exporting to. So let's go over to start on our electronic tab here as well. This, in previous video, we looked at our export or electronic profile sources. We can see that we build on the right side here a series of information reconstructed from all of the source information based on company, and then under company we had all of the files. So this would be our new structure that we would want to export out the other end. We can do this a number of different ways. If we want to maybe start at our primaries and then our secondaries, maybe this is the folder structure that we'd like to export. Note that this information could be coming from not just our electronic profiles, it could be coming from our data mapping tool or from content we've directly created here. So let's take another sample here. Let's go into that company structure we had in our electronic profile. So what would this look like if we actually ran the export profile that we'd looked at for, in this case, our export test? So I'm going to open this location here. Close to the screen. We're actually going to open up this location here. I'm just going to clear out this temp data from a previous export. So now if I run this export profile based on whatever tab I'm on, that information will get reconstructed in my export profile location. So we're on, let's look at our company structure here. This is the one we had. This is some email and some documents that came in. I believe my electronic profile here is just documents. Let's look at this one. So if I run my export profile while I'm on this tab, this is going to export based on the export profile I select. So I'm going to hit export Here we can see the count running here. If we actually go over to our export location, this is actually reconstructing the content based on the information that we had viewed in the current tab that we exported. So we'll let that run here. Let's take a quick look at, say, a SharePoint list export. The SharePoint list export that we looked at earlier, as I noted, it was hooked to my volumes tab and hooked to my volumes type. So whenever I run this profile, no matter what tab I'm on, it'll always export the volumes tab, this one here. This particular export profile is hooked up to my new list that I had created in my SharePoint site. So essentially what we're going to have here is that any information that I had on this volumes tab, I'm just going to add a couple of more columns here so we can see some more information. Request, let's see, last requested by is another one we use for this one. Last requested by. So here we can see some requests that are coming in from the information. Let's add description as well. So here we can see we've got some information. So essentially what we want here is the information out on the SharePoint list to match what we have in our Whisper. Note when the export profile is run, the export is intelligent enough to match metadata. So any metadata that you have in Whisper, if the corresponding column exists in the SharePoint list you're exporting to, that data will automatically get mapped. So here, if I go into my export profile and do my SharePoint export here, we're actually going to have all this data match the data that's already in there. Here we can see that box matches the box information that we had in the other tab. So you can see these are being modified a few seconds ago. So the export profiles is a great way to make information accessible outside your Whisper application in a number of different areas, whether you're moving to a new reorganized structure on a shared drive, you're publishing information to a SharePoint list that can be accessed by users of the SharePoint site, or moving documents from one repository to another. Documentum to SharePoint, Perceptive to SharePoint have been two popular ones recently.